Hare Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances, all the Shishur Prabhupada. Welcome devotees to this morning's Bhagavatam class. This morning we will be discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 9, verse 23, and the chapter is entitled the canto is entitled The Cosmic Manifestation, and the chapter is entitled Answers by Citing the Lord's Version. We are very glad to have His Grace Dronacharya Prabhu. Hare Krishna, brother. Please accept my humble obeisances. All good to Shri Prabhupada and Gurudev. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyacha patitanam pavanevyo vaishnavevyo namo namaha.
And it's all yours.
It's great to be here with the Harrisburg family. Hope everybody's having a good start to your week. Let's begin with Jaya Radha Madhava. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatiravanachari Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatiravanachari Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paribrajikacharya Ashotatara Shishimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paribrajikacharya Ashotatara Shishimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Maharaj Ki Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki His confounder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Namacharya Srila hṛdayaṁ Ki Prem Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyamakunda Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Gangamaya Ki Ramaya Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Tulsi Devi Ki Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Nitai Gora Premanande All glories the sum of devotees
Hare Krishna.
All glories the sum of devotees
Hare Krishna.
Glories the sum of devotees
Hare Krishna.
Glories, all glories, all glories to the lotus feet of Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga.
Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga.
Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Tirtha Swamine Namane Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Ashutadmane Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Iti Namane Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamine Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi paścātyadeśṭaṁ. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Namo Bhagavate
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate
Sing.
Vasudevaya.
Om
Om
Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Om Namo
Namo Bhagavate
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirajet Nastu Prayeshu Babadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Hare Krishna devotees, we will recite and read and speak about Canto 2, Chapter 9, text number 23. Pratyādiṣṭaṁ mayā tatra tvayi karma-vimohite tapo hṛdayaṁ sākṣād ātmāhaṁ tapaso nagha. Pratyādiṣṭaṁ mayā tatra tvayi karma-vimohite tapo hṛdayaṁ sākṣād ātmāhaṁ tapaso nagha. Pratyādiṣṭaṁ mayā tatra tvayi karma-vimohite tapo hṛdayaṁ sākṣād ātmāhaṁ tapaso nagha. Please recite.
Pratyādiṣṭaṁ. Oh, I can say.
You can do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pratyādiṣṭaṁ mayā tatra tvayi karma vimohite tapo me hṛdayam sākṣād ātmāhaṁ tapaso nagha. Hare Krishna.
Pratyādiṣṭaṁ mayā tatra tvayi karma vimohite tapo me hṛdayam sākṣād ātmāhaṁ tapaso nagha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Pratyādiṣṭaṁ mayā tatra tvayi karma vimohite tapo me hṛdayam sākṣād ātmāhaṁ tapaso nagha. Hare Krishna.
प्रत्यादिष्टं मया तत्र त्वयि कर्म विमोहिते तपो मे हृदयं साक्षात् आत्महं तपसो अनघ. हरे कृष्ण.
Synonyms. Pratyādiṣṭaṁ, ordered. Mayā, by me. Tatra, because of. Tvayi, unto you. Karma, duty. Vimohite, being perplexed. Tapa, penance. Me, me. Hṛdayaṁ, heart. Sākṣād, directly. Atma, life and soul. Aham, myself. Tapasa, one who is engaged in penance. Nagha, O sinless one. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. O sinless Brahmā, you may know me. O sinless Brahmā, you may know from me that it was I who first ordered you to undergo penance when you were perplexed in your duty. Such penance is my heart and soul, and therefore penance and I are nondifferent. Very interesting verse. Purport. The penance by which one can see the personality of Godhead face to face is to be understood as devotional service to the Lord and nothing else, because only by discharging devotional service in transcendental love can one approach the Lord. Such penance is the internal potency of the Lord and is non-different from him. Such acts of internal potency are exhibited by non-attachment for material things, for material enjoyment. The living entities are engaged in the condition of material bondage because of their propensity for overlordship. But by engagement in the devotional service of the Lord, one has become detached from this enjoying spirit. The devotees automatically become detached from worldly enjoyment. And this detachment is the result of perfect knowledge. Therefore, the penance of devotional service includes knowledge and detachment, and that is the manifestation of the transcendental potency. One can enjoy material, illusory prosperity. One cannot enjoy material, illusory prosperity if he desires to return home back to Godhead. One who has no information of the transcendental bliss and the association of the Lord foolishly desires to enjoy this temporary material happiness. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that if someone sincerely wants to see the Lord and at the same time wants to enjoy this material world, he is considered to be a fool only. One who wants to remain here in the material world for material enjoyment has no business entering the eternal kingdom of God. The Lord favors such foolish devotees by snatching all he may possess in the material world. If such a foolish devotee of the Lord tries to recoup his position, then the merciful Lord again snatches away all he may have possessed. By such repeated failures in material prosperity, he becomes very unpopular with his family members and friends. In the material world, the family members and friends honor persons who are very successful in accumulating wealth by any means. The foolish devotee of the Lord is thus put into forcible penance by the grace of the Lord. And at the end, the devotee becomes perfectly happy, being engaged in the service of the Lord. Therefore, penance and devotional service of the Lord, either by voluntary submission or by being forced by the Lord, is necessary for attaining perfection. And thus such penance is the internal potency of the Lord. One cannot, however, be engaged in penance of devotional service without being completely free from all sins. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, only a person who is completely free from all reactions of sins can engage himself in the worship of the Lord. Brahmaji was sinless, and therefore he faithfully discharged the advice of the Lord, tapa, and the Lord, being satisfied with him, awarded him the desired result. Therefore, only love and penance combined can please the Lord. And thus one is able to attain his complete mercy. He directs the sinless, and the sinless devotee attains the highest perfection of life. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I always get the good purports, really good ones to preach from. I mean, Prabhupada gives the class right here. Right?
And I'm waiting to hear the nectar, Prabhu.
It's so amazing. You don't get this type of knowledge and understanding anywhere. I mean, in this material world. I mean, this is truly transcendental. I mean, this is really coming from the spiritual world. You can, when you read this, you can really see, see it. Prabhupada is talking to us. Om Jnanatimbarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapatantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. The verse once again. O sinless Brahmā, you may know from me that it was I who first ordered you to undergo penance when you were perplexed in your duty. Such penance is my heart and soul, and therefore penance and I are non-different. Srila Prabhupada, he begins this purport by saying the penance by which one can see the personality of Godhead face to face is to be understood as devotional service to the Lord and nothing else. Because only discharging devotional service and transcendental love, one can approach the Lord. We see this from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, text 55. The same message is being conveyed, Krishna to Arjuna, when he says, Bhaktya mam abhijananti yavanyas chasmi tatvataha tato mam tatvato gyatva vishvate tad anantaram. One can know me as I am only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me, by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. When we talk about penance, another word, austerity, one tends to think of putting oneself through a type of physical deprivation in order to gain some other type of higher achievement, typically on the material level. We often hear that you can't become an Olympic gold medal athlete unless you wake up really early in the morning and you give up alcohol, and you're going to have to give up late nights with your friends. But it's a trade-off. It's an austerity. You give up something lower in order to gain something much higher. So in this material world, we're used to doing these types of austerities in order to achieve a greater position in the material world. Got to study more, got to work harder, I got to save more. And all these things require a certain level of discipline. That's not the austerity that is being spoken about here by Lord Krishna when he says that you should understand that penance and I are non-different. That this penance is my heart and soul. What it is talking about is this penance of giving up material enjoyment in order to understand and enter into a relationship with the Lord, who is purely spiritual. Being able to separate the material and spiritual and be able to transform our material desires into the service of Krishna. Therefore, he says, such acts of internal potency are exhibited by non-attachment for material enjoyment. What is the proof that we hear this often as well. What is the proof that you really love somebody? Well, you engage in their service. Engaging in Krishna consciousness, that is the internal potency of the Lord, because you're connecting on a spiritual platform. You're no longer acting on the material platform. And that is categorized when there is non-attachment for material pleasure. And that material pleasure, it can come in a gross way, desiring to have material things. Or it can be in a subtle way, in terms of trying to enjoy within the mind. False ego, attachments, to pride, to recognition. So these are exhibited when we talk about material enjoyment. Austerity is spoken about in the Bhagavad Gita in several places. In the 18th chapter, text number 5, in the very beginning, Krishna tells Arjuna that acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance are not to be given up. They must be performed. Indeed, sacrifice, charity, and penance purify even the great souls. So this austerity that Krishna is talking about is something that is a natural component of devotional service. And it's there in order to purify our material conditioning. We wake up early in the morning. That's austerity. We could sleep in and enjoy, especially now that the daylight savings time has hit. You may think, oh, it's so dark outside. The material conditions are different. My body, let me just wake up, later, stay up later. But we have control over this urge by saying there's a spirit, I have to wake up because I want to engage in the service of Krishna. I want to hear the holy names early in the morning, first thing, while my mind is still fresh, so that my mind can become purified. We may want to eat so many different things. There's restaurants all over the world, all over the areas that we're in. So many different smells, so many different enticements. We say, no, what I'm going to eat has to be offerable to the Lord. I'm only going to take Krishna prasadam. This is an austerity. We control the urges of the senses. This is austerity. The nectar of instruction talks about, particularly the three that are in line: the tongue, the belly, and the genitals. What to speak of, the eyes, the ears, the nose. These are all the sense of touch, These are all enticements in this world, which were available to us all day long, every day, at all times. But in order to purify our material body so that we can see Krishna and understand that there's actually a higher nature, a spiritual nature to ourselves, and that we have an eternal connection with Krishna through devotional service. These penances are required at all levels of devotional service in this material world. So there's, we'll find as we move through this purport by Srila Prabhupada, he talks about the condition of the devotee at a lower level of devotional service. And this should apply, we should see this when we read this. And if we can relate to it. He calls them foolish. And what is that? Is that we have this desire to see Krishna, to serve Krishna. We find happiness, we find shelter. We find that actually this is what I'm supposed to be doing. It feels right. But yet, I still have a desire to enjoy temporary material happiness. It's not uninterrupted, unmotivated devotional service. The question comes into our heads that yes, serving Krishna, I can get up early in the morning, I can follow the four regulative principles, I can chant my 16 rounds, but I still want these other things in life. And they're material enjoyments, because I think these things will actually make me happy. Only if I get them, I'll become happy. There's one purport where Srila Prabhupada said that it's like oil and water, material sense enjoyment and spiritual progress. You know, they go ill together. They can't mix. And this is the great experiment of the neophyte devotee, is that we try our very best to mix the two. And sometimes we'll see materially successful devotees, and then we want to aspire for what they have. They have a lot of wealth, they speak really well, they handle themselves really well, they feel, you know, they have worldly relationships. And we think, well, so-and-so has a lot, and they're very well materially connected. And they're, you know, they seem to be a good devotee. Why can't I do the same and have the best of both worlds? Now, Krishna's not telling us you have to be materially successful in order to become Krishna conscious. In fact, in almost every case, material advancement acts as a hindrance because we're just not strong enough to overcome the temptations. Now, there are certain things that may be required. You know, education, a place to live, a steady income. These are the, you know, those of us, which are most of us in the grihasta life, these things are required in order to live in this world. But even that, the goal should be to live a life that's in service to the Lord. How do I generate, you know, enough money in order to offer prasadam or offer bhoga to Krishna, to worship Krishna, to spread the Krishna consciousness movement? to provide the necessities of life for my family, but in over-endeavoring in order to gain that will give me sense gratification is a detour in our progress in Krishna consciousness. So when Krishna sees this, he begins to interact. And why? Because he loves us so much. The overwhelming majority of the souls that are here in the material world are not even conscious that there is a spiritual component. There's no knowledge that there's the soul. When you think about the number of living beings, you drive down the highway, if you would drive down from Harrisburg to Philadelphia, and you just see the number of trees or blades of grass, and you got to think in those trees, how many other living entities exist? We're not even talking about human beings. How many are there? Countless. Now, how many leaves are on a tree? We can't count them. And how many insects are on each leaf of each tree? Now you come up to the human species of life, in which the human beings have the opportunity to inquire and try to understand how this whole material world works. And out of the human beings, what percentage of them are truly trying to understand, how do I escape this material world? I don't belong here. This is not my natural home. If I don't belong here, where do I belong? And how do I get there? How many people are actually trying to do that? Thousands among men, only one may endeavor for perfection. And of those who endeavor for perfection, of the many that try to endeavor for perfection, only one may only know me in truth. It is very rare to have a soul actually make an attempt to progress on the pathway of Krishna consciousness. And this is one of the great achievements of Srila Prabhupada and what he did in such a short period of time. He took individuals that were basically at benchmark zero. No knowledge of Krishna whatsoever. Completely absorbed in material life. And he transformed their consciousness so that Krishna became the goal of their life. Not all of them were immediately freed from their material desires. And without the association of Srila Prabhupada, many of them weren't able to, tolerate those material urges. But just the fact that they made this turn in their life, that they're acknowledging that Krishna consciousness is one's original consciousness, and this is what I need to dedicate my life to developing, was a huge achievement. So what does Krishna do? Krishna says to such a person, to such a rare person, I personally start taking charge of their life. And I start removing, what they possess in this material world. This comes from, you may ask, where does this come from? This comes from the 10th canto, 88th chapter, it starts at text number 8. I'll read it so we can hear exactly what Krishna is saying. The personality of Godhead said, if I especially favor someone, I gradually deprive them of his wealth. Then the relatives and friends of such a poverty-stricken man abandon him. In this way, he suffers one distress after another. Interesting how he says, if I especially favor someone, I gradually deprive him of his wealth. Why? So his family and friends, they gradually abandon them. When he becomes frustrated in his attempts to make money and instead befriends my devotees, I bestow my special mercy upon him. A person who has thus become sober, fully realizes absolute as the highest truth, the most subtle and perfect manifestation of spirit, the transcendental existence without end. In this way, realizing the supreme truth is the foundation of our own existence. He is freed from the cycle of material life. Because I am difficult to worship, people generally avoid me and instead worship other deities who are quickly satisfied. When people receive kingly opulence from these deities, they become arrogant, intoxicated with pride, and neglectful of their duties. They dare to offend even the demigods who have bestowed benedictions upon them. So this is what Krishna says in the 10th canto of the 88th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Very interesting. Now Krishna, he's taking charge of our life for a devotee that may undergo some material distress, especially in the form of, losing wealth, losing friends, family. Maybe they lose reputation. We should see Krishna's hand in that. Krishna's telling us here, these are your material attachments to this material world. This will keep you here longer and longer. So I'll help remove those obstacles. If you're unwilling to remove them for yourself, I'll remove them. Why? So you can come back to me. And this is Krishna's love for us. His mercy so that we don't have to suffer any longer. I mean, that's what mercy is. The person says, have mercy on me. I deserve a lot worse, but please remove the suffering that is owed to me. This material condition, I can't get out of it, Krishna. But please have mercy on me. Do the thing that I can't do myself. So, one point here is that we should be Krishna conscious at all times, and be able to acknowledge Krishna may be involved, and most likely is involved, in any material challenges that we go through. And we can speak to our spiritual authorities about this when they occur. And this may actually save us from a great amount of distress. Blaming other people, blaming ourselves. Sometimes we have a great fight inside of us where we may want to return to material life in order to prove our reputation. Krishna says, wow, this is a stubborn person. All right, I just took it away so that he can embrace the devotees and give up material association, but yet he keeps wanting to run out there to prove himself. So seeing Krishna's hand is very important. it is difficult, especially in times of distress. And that's why having spiritual association is so essential during those times. It's essential all times, but when we have it during times when we're not distressed, we'll definitely have it during the time when we are distressed. And what does the devotee see? The devotee is trained to see Krishna everywhere, to be able to witness, Krishna in all things, in all circumstances, even when we can't see. And Krishna and the devotees of Krishna are so kind that they can help us, both mentally and physically through certain obstacles that we go through. So going back to this austerity and how does this tie in to it? Srila Prabhupada concludes the purport by mentioning how he says, therefore penance and devotional service to the Lord, either by voluntary submission or being forced by the Lord, is necessary for attaining perfection. And thus, by such penance, such penance is the internal potency of the Lord. It's under the direction of Lord Krishna. So the austerity can be voluntary, or if we're struggling with it, can be forced by the Lord. And then he says that, this penance will purify the Lord and make us pure or sinless. And in this sinless stage, one can engage in devotional service without any impediment or obstacle. In other words, performing pure devotional service. Austerity is defined in three ways: speech, body, and mind. We'll find this in the 17th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Austerity of the body consists of worship of the Supreme Lord, the Brahmanas, the spiritual master, and superiors like the father and mother, in cleanliness, simplicity, celibacy, and nonviolence. When we perform these things, we will be rightly situated to be able to serve the Lord. Cleanliness, simplicity, celibacy, and nonviolence. There are three aspects in which lust come into this world, into our lives, and just general categories. Those things that the need to feel loved. We want to be able to touch, to have our senses gratified. Then there's the things that we see. We go to somebody's house and we say, well, that's a really nice sofa. I want one of those too. See that rug? Let us go by. So we see things and we hear things and we say we want them for ourselves. And then there's the pride of life, where our ego becomes, it's very important for our ego to become satisfied, false ego to become satisfied. So by practicing these austerities, they can cleanse ourselves of these material conditions. And Krishna goes on and says, austerity of speech consists of speaking words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, not agitating to others, and also regularly reciting Vedic literature. This is another practice as devotees that we should be very diligent in. Reciting Vedic literatures, When we talk to people, we should converse with them on Krishna conscious topics. Sometimes there has to be something that on a personal level, or a doubt, or a situation you need to resolve. So when we do that, we should make sure that it is truthful. Is it truthful? Is it pleasing? Is it timely? Is it necessary? So many things you hear, and you may have this experience when people come talk to you. You don't even know if they're telling you the truth or not, or whether it's simply just their perception of the situation, especially when they're not directly involved and somebody comes to tell you something that they heard from somebody else. Be careful when you repeat those things. Ask yourself, is it truthful? Is this coming from a place of goodness inside me and wanting to help somebody? And if it's not, resist the urge. Is it necessary? Is what I have to say really necessary? Or am I simply just talking for the sake of talking? Am I just simply talking to tell somebody something that'll give me some attention? Is it pleasing? As devotees, if what we're saying can't be said in a way that our intention is to give to is to please. Now, we can't always control how things are received. Some people, no matter how nicely you say it, how well you say it, how you frame it and give context to it, they're going to take it the wrong way. And you have to take that in consideration before speaking to somebody. But from yourself, you should definitely check your motivation before speaking about it. Is it pleasing? We should never try to hurt another living being with our words, actions, even in the mind, even though the mind is, we get a little bit of leeway, but the mind also needs to become purified. And lastly, is it timely? Sometimes what we say, it's just not the right time. It could be something that passed a long time ago. And now you're going to talk about it, and then you're going to stir up something and bring it up, simply because it gives you a sense of joy to do it. Is it timely? Is it the right time? Timing is everything. Sometimes to speak certain words that a person, it's just not the right time. Sometimes people say, call me tomorrow and let's talk about it. It's not the right time. I'm involved in something. Respect that. No, I got to tell you right now. Of course, unless it's absolute emergency, but respect it. And then lastly, satisfaction, simplicity, gravity, self-control, and purification of one's existence are austerities of the mind. And Krishna, he says, these threefold austerities performed with transcendental faith by men not expecting material benefits, but engaged only for the sake of the Supreme, in other words, devotional service, is called austerity and goodness. So these are ways in which we can perform this austerity in a very practical way. We can't separate out austerity and devotional life. They go hand in hand. As we begin to give up material propensities, we begin to embrace the service of Krishna with much more clarity. And it becomes more tangible and real to us, our relationship with the Lord. Okay, I'll end here. Thank you so much for your attention. And I would love to hear from the devotees, any realizations that you have, or any questions that may come up. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Dronacharya. Awesome class, amazing class. And yes, as soon as you read the translation, and especially, where it says the penance and I are non-different, I was like, whoa, that's a whole, okay, there you go. We got the first question, Dronacharya. Go ahead, Damodar.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Prabhupada. I don't know if anyone else wants, like Dev Krishna Prabhu or Parikshit Prabhu wants to talk.
No, go ahead. Ask a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I might take a little bit time before because yeah, I mean, like Prabhuji gives really wonderful class, and it's always amazing when I hear him. Whenever he comes on the class, like all the points that he talked today. Yesterday, I was hearing to one of the class, and the devotee was mentioning how the life goes, and then Krishna is making us do things because he wants us home back home. That's what Prabhuji was mentioning just now. And even when I went to Philadelphia recently with Bhakti Vasudev Maharaj, I met a couple of students. Not students; they're working, but young, and they were also very motivated by the classes by Dronacharya Prabhu. They were saying, oh, he gives classes about Ishopnishan. So sorry, I'm taking time to glorify Prabhu because yeah. uh, my question, Prabhuji,
Krishna's mercy, Prabhu. Guru's mercy. Thank you for those kind words. You go ahead.
the question that I have is from the purport. There is, if you can just show the purport, Mataji. Uh, there is one line. It
Yeah,
says that,
let me share the purport. Oops, where is it now? Give me 1 second. Okay, I got it. Let me share the purport, but go ahead with the question.
yeah, it says that whatever bhakti we are doing or I'm doing, uh, it's we cannot do any bhakti without being purified first. And somewhere like towards the end, it is there, I guess. Somewhere maybe.
One cannot be one cannot, however, be engaged in the presence of devotional service without being completely free from all sins. Is that what it is?
Yeah, yeah. I want to
Okay.
like if Prabhuji can elaborate more on this line because I didn't understand. Like, this is like, what am I doing right now? I mean, like, am I doing a devotional service? Because I know personally that I am not free from all the sins. So what am I doing right?
What's the text again? The text number?
2:923, the
Okay.
verse
All right.
that we're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So so the process of devotional service, and at the very beginning, begins to take away our sinful reactions. It eliminates our papa, our karma. So devotional service in that way is purifying. When it talks about, can engage himself in the worship of the Lord, there's different stages of worship. So there's the preliminary stage or the training stage. So that stage, our material desires, which is what basically begins to lead to our our sins, our sinful mentality, that becomes purified. So it says, only a person who is completely free from all reactions of sins can engage himself in the worship of Lord. Now, when I hear that, the place in the Bhagavad Gita that I'm thinking about is 1860 1866.
Should I go there, Dronacharya?
That's what I'm thinking of. Sure.
Okay.
I mean,
Oops, 18, you said. Okay.
yeah. So that's sarva dharmam pratyaja, mamekam sharanam vraja, aham tvam sarva papevyo, mokshaya shami masuchaha. I just wanted to make sure you can read it together. This is what I'm thinking. Prabhupada doesn't necessarily reference the exact verse, but he says, abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Now, Krishna takes care of our sinful reactions. And he says that, this particular verse, or this particular line that you referenced, he says, one cannot, however, be engaged in the penance of devotional service without being completely free from all sins. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, only a person who is completely free from all reactions of sins can be engaged in the worship of the Lord. So Krishna, by engaging in devotion, Krishna says, don't worry about your sins so much. Worry about engaging in devotional service to me. I will remove you. I will remove those, your sinful reactions from you. That no longer has to be the purpose of your life, or that no longer has to be occupying your mind. How do I become free from sin? How do I live a life of goodness so that I can become free from sin? Krishna says, and just engage in my devotional service. I will take care of them. Now, chanting of the holy names, we always hear is the most merciful form of the Lord. That Krishna becomes available to even the greatest sinner and can purify them. So Krishna, in the form of his holy name, becomes the greatest purifier, and begins to purify our heart and our material desires. Even though we may not be chanting and worshiping at the purest state, the purification process of removal of our sinful reactions begins to go away. We also hear that, we also understand that at the time of initiation, that our sinful reactions are removed. Now, what can take place is that unless our consciousness is free, we can actually go back and continue to perform those things and continue to accumulate more sinful reactions. What we need to recognize here is when Krishna says, do not engage. I'm sorry, I'm getting this call. This person keeps calling me. Do not worry so much about your sinful reactions. Let me take care of those things. You just focus on my devotional service. And that's what I've understood by this line. Don't try to separate out advancement in devotional service and your sinful reactions. And try to pursue purification on a separate path. But anyway, I don't know if anybody else would like to comment on that, or if you have any realization, Damodar. Prabhu.
Thank you, Dronacharya Prabhu. Actually, I was just being reminded of a comment that I think it was last week, and I don't remember which speaker who was giving a class, and I asked a question for someone else, and it's very much what you said, because as we commit ourselves in engaging in devotional service, we get purified. And the more we do service, the more we get purified. The more we do service, the more we get purified. And because, I mean, this verse just completely says, penance and I are non-different. So Krishna is the penance. So which means Krishna will take care of purifying our sins. All we got to do is just engage in devotional service. and then leave the rest to the Lord, and He will clean us up. That was that's what I'm getting from it. But that's yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Any other
Sorry.
questions? Did that help, Damodar? Parikshit, go
Yes,
ahead.
ma'am. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Prabhu, please step on motivations. All glory to the Prabhupada.
Great to hear your voice,
And
Parikshit, Prabhu. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. So when you were preaching, you talked about a certain point that Krishna makes. And I know that especially new devotees, when they hear that, they get scared. So I wanted you to comment on it. Krishna says, when I decide to bestow my special mercy on the devotee, I take away their material activity and their material possessions. And then their family members leave them. And then they become destitute. And that all of that. And somebody said, I've come to Krishna consciousness. Krishna's consciousness is the best thing for me, but Krishna's going to take away my material things. Ooh. Well, I mean, I have a little, and now that's going to go. And so people think like that. I know one guy, literally, when we were in 9th F Street, 1993, thereabouts, he made a comment. He came to Krishna consciousness from Islam. And he made a comment that in other religions, God takes care of us. But every time you come to Krishna consciousness, you become poorer. It's the comments like that with me. Okay, so please give some advice to the Buddhists that Krishna's real intention about purifying the devotee, so
And
that they
not
don't
make us
feel like
poor.
when the material things are going. See, and we've been already through it. So, and look at us now. So people need to understand that when Krishna says, I take away when I bestow my special favor, it is actually special favor. We get too attached to material things. That's why we're scared like that. But I'd like you to comment a little bit about it. Hare
Yeah.
Krishna.
Krishna says there's 4 types of people that surrender to me. Those that are in distress, those that are in need of wealth, those that are, inquisitive, those that are searching for knowledge. And a lot of times those that turn to God are in the first 2 categories, distress, or they're looking for a better material situation. So if we start off, teaching people or explaining to people, preaching to people that, oh, you're looking for distress? Wait, you haven't seen distress. Wait till Krishna gets a hold of me. They'll run away. They'll run the opposite direction. So Krishna's preaching this message in the 10th canto, 88th chapter, we're toward the end, even though there's consistency and Prabhupada brings it up in his purports. But, initially, these are not always the things that, we may talk about, publicly. Although philosophically, we should be clear about, what takes place and why suffering exists in the, why a devotee may undergo distress or suffering. I always like to go back to the analogy of the jail cell and how this material world is like a prison. And when I try to understand things that take place in my life and in this world, and really try to compare it to a prison, that's what helps me make sense out of these topics. So if you're in a prison and you have, the government is basically trying to tell you you can get out now, and you say, well, why would I want to leave? Because I have the best cell out of everybody. I have my own bed. I have my own toilet. Finally, after staying here, I've been able to, you know, I got accustomed to the food. And they're saying, no, you don't realize it's your time to leave. You can leave here. We're giving you, your sentence is over. You can go. You say, yeah, that sounds really good, but maybe I'll do it later. I want to stay here a little bit longer because I got some friends here and I got, things are really comfortable. But you're in prison. You're living in the prison. I know, but I still want to remain here a little bit longer, and, I have some family that's going to come visit me next week and finally they start cutting off all your rights. They make things no longer so comfortable. You no longer have your own cell. Now you have to share a cell with somebody else. Now you have to, you know, the food isn't as good anymore. The conditions aren't as good anymore. Now all of a sudden, they cut off the heat. They cut off, and you think, all right, get me out of here. You know, what was I thinking trying to stay in this horrible place? Um, so I think a lot of people aren't ready to hear that this material world is not a place of enjoyment. And so they need to get a little bit more um, uh, developed, the exposure to Krishna consciousness, the chanting, um, you know, and through the reading. This may not be a realization that they come to very quickly. I sent this verse to a devotee maybe about 5 years ago who was going through um, a very difficult situation. They were going through, he was going through a divorce and he was really hurt. And all the devotees were thinking that, you know, he was actually, this is going to actually be good for a good situation for him because the woman really wasn't Krishna conscious at all. And she was really discouraging him and they didn't have any children. It was just something, but he was really broken and the stuff that was happening to his family. And it was clear that they just weren't going anywhere in life. They were both young and it was just, she had wanted the divorce and he was trying to save it. And anyway, it looked like it was inevitable. And I remember sharing this verse with him. And he didn't take it so well. He just said, why would Krishna be so cruel to do that to somebody? And I realized, okay, this wasn't the right time in order uh, to share that message. He wasn't ready for that. The first time hearing this probably shouldn't be when you're going through some type of major life change. You should probably hear this message so that when you're going through that life change, you can remember it, not that it becomes like a kind of like a surprise to you. Anyway, they're my thoughts on that particular verse and the one realization I had and maybe misusing it um, in the past.
Thank you, Prabhu. Actually, when you were talking and you gave the jail analogy, I thought of Indra when he was cursed by Brihaspati. So Indra had it all in the heavenly kingdom. And when he disrespected the spiritual master Brihaspati, when he was being serenaded, and Brihaspati came and he ignored Brihaspati. Brihaspati left. Indra noticed that was a bad thing to do, but Brihaspati cursed him to become a pig.
Yeah.
So he got here. Now, in the jail situation, it's like when Indra had become a pig, he had a piggy wife, he had piggy children. The time came for him to go back. Brahmā came and says, hey, your time is up now. You can leave this piggy life and go back. Indra did not want to go back to the heavenly planets. He didn't. He thought he was better off being a pig. So that's when you talk about the jail situation. The people say, oh, I've got everything here. I'm not, It's funny how people think the material world is okay when in fact people are suffering. They don't even realize they're suffering, So when Krishna pulls us away from material situation, and I just want to make another comment, that's that we actually, and Sia and I, before we had children, we went through that similar situation where Krishna took away materially. And it got to the point where we had nowhere to turn. We're in the Maryland area. And it was right at that time that really Bhakti Maharaj said, that he wanted to come to Girinagri to help the project. We had nowhere to turn, so we decided we were going to go with him. And that was the biggest blessing. We had nothing, but that's where we learned about devotion on a dam, and our children were born on a dam, so they experienced Krishna consciousness a whole lot better than if we had stayed in Maryland. So see, now even in the situation of a bad material situation, but look how much we benefited materially from, I mean, spiritually from it. So I just wanted to throw that comment in.
You don't have to hang up.
Okay. All right. So I'm done. This was Hare Krishna.
Yeah, that was wonderful. Thank you for the Lord Indra story there, and that it's a perfect analogy. That was great, right from the Shastra, and then for sharing your own personal experience. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. Oh, because Krishna's call, this crazy call. I want to quickly say something, and I want to end the class because I know that Drona has to go to work. When we were in DC, and when Krishna was just taking things out, newly married, that too, Prabhu, newly married, and I remember going to Gurudev, to Bhaktivedanta Swami. This was in August of '94. I remember that, and I went to him, and I was crying, telling him, all this problem, and he had this big $1 million smile on his face. And he said, Krishna's favoring you. I said, say what? I'll never forget that. I said, say what? But I had to throw that in because that's what he said. Krishna's favoring you. Very fortunate. I said, I don't know about that one. But anyway, thank you. Drona, I know you're getting calls from work. I'm going to cut this class. And I want to thank all the devotees for really being here, attending this wonderful class, a really powerful class. And Drona, I don't know why, but it's not me. You always get the powerful verses. I have nothing to do with it, but thank you.
Krishna's mercy.
Thank you.
And another one we can take a look at is just because we're in the month of Kartik, just with Nala Kuvera and Manigriva, and how, they were kind of cursed to perform some austerity because they were misusing, their, the privileges that they received, the good birth that they received, they were misusing it. So a devotee of Krishna, Narada Muni, cursed them to put them back on the right track. And they were forever grateful for that, because they realized that without the interjection of a devotee of the Lord, they would have completely misused, all the good things that they had at their disposal. They just completely, took it for granted. And as a result, they were able to get the personal darshan of Krishna in his childhood pastimes.
Yeah, that was a nice one, Prabhu. Thank you. Thank you so much. I think the lesson behind that is when we misuse Krishna's, property, like with the wealth, when we misuse, his energy, we get paid for it. We get a slap on our hands, a slap. Yes. Thank you for that. And we thank all the devotees for joining us. Thank you for sticking out. Vanchakaptibhyascha, kripasindhubheva patitanam pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Have a wonderful day. 2 more days before Kartik ends. Let's make it more powerful. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
Thank you, Drona.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Parikshit Prabhu. Hare Krishna, all devotees.